So here we are again, people. It's that time, it's that place for doing Iris of Our Eye number 22. Feeling 22 to quote Taylor Swift, that silly song off the Red album that I love. I think I was almost 22 when that song came out, but now I'm on a tangent. Sitting down with Gabriel, how is it?
It's just Fugate, but it sounds
Fugate.
more exotic if you say Gabriel Fugate.
Fugate, there you go.
Not.
Are you Italian?
No.
It does sound less American and more Italian if you say it that way.
Yeah.
Gabriel Fugate. I met this beautiful soul, this dashing gentleman. This is actually the first time we're sitting down to one of these kind of types of interviews.
Yeah.
And just reached out like last week, I think. No, Sunday. So it's all happening within the same week. Sunday, found him on Threads, I think, and messaged him on Instagram because Threads doesn't let you DM for some reason. I don't know. Just they're like, you could just use Instagram. We already have it set up. Whatever. He's to my knowledge, he's a rapper, and that's actually all I know. If the guitars didn't give it away that he's some type of musician, he makes rap. I listened to a song called "Stuck in This Room," which is a COVID, I wouldn't say anthem, but definitely a COVID hip hop song. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I like this guy. Just this is one small glimpse into his creative endeavors. So, Gabriel, how else? If I missed anything, because I probably missed a bunch, would you say that you are, or introduce yourself to the people?
Shoot. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm a rapper. I'm a beat maker. I'm a DJ. I've spent my life just kind of always holding space for music, but never super like 100% in because I'm trying to survive, pay bills, make, money, all that stuff. But I've done everything. I've done so many things. So, and I have a few businesses and whatever. I mean, yeah, I don't know how far to go, but yeah, that covers it. For the purposes of this, I'm a rapper, beat maker, DJ, all that stuff. So
Cool, man.
and I can play a few chords on a guitar. That's about it.
Oh boy, one or two. Yeah, that's my boss. He's a little rambunctious character, that guy, but I love him. I'm at my job, not wherever, not in person, obviously, online, doing it remotely. But that's cool, man. He's a family man. He's an artist. He's a businessman. He's a Renaissance man, if you will. I also like to say that I'm a Renaissance man, but maybe in a couple more decades there'll be more proof behind that statement, not just saying it for fun.
Sure.
So the working premise of the podcast is art, which I feel bad I didn't send him the questions. I should have. Because sometimes I feel like I want to send the questions to the people that are like want to prepare psychologically more. Like this guy was just like, I'm ready, dude. Just I'll interview whatever it is. I don't even care. Like, let's just do it. Which
I'm an open book.
So the first question that I like to start with is, what is art to you?
I mean, that is a good question. Art to me is an expression of emotion. I really think that's like, if you boil it down to the just most basic thing, it's some expression of an emotion, whether it's through visual art, whether it's through music, whether it's poetry, whether it's whatever, food, whatever. Your artistry is an emotion that you want to try to convey to the receiver. And that's the interesting part, because you might make a piece of art and the way it's received is different than the intention you put into it, or just people are in different places and they get something different out of it. So that's kind of, that's art, I guess, to me.
Yeah, no, yep, that's it. I like to say that art is it's just intentional communication of whatever your message is. essentially, if you could just boil it down to like its thing. And then I guess, do you think anything is an art? Because that intentional piece is like usually like can encapsulate everything within the human endeavor, the human project. But is there anything that you would say like, yeah, I don't think that's art?
I don't know. I mean, how do you draw that line? It's not up to me. Like, I'm not the one that can be like, well, that's art and that's not. I mean, I think if there's, I think I would stand by my first answer is kind of like if someone was intending to convey an emotion, then that kind of makes it art. I mean, it's such a broad, loose, like how do you define it? You know what I mean? It's looks so big, but yeah, I mean, I would say Zycon in my, I'll be 39 this year. In my lifetime, I've gone through a lot of different stages, and for a lot of years in hip hop, I was very jaded, and I was very like, if it's not really flippin' dope, then it's whack, and I won't touch it or listen to it,
Mm.
and it's not art, like so I've gone through a lot of progression to become more open-minded, and even in like I mean everybody likes to hate on like mumble rap, especially the lyricists out there, and even in that, like, it's not my thing for sure, but even in like the mumble rap that's out there, there is an emotion and a really cool energy that they're capturing in it. I think, like, I don't listen to a bunch of it, but some of it I'm like, yeah, I probably couldn't actually, I could do that, but it wouldn't feel or sound the same way as what this guy's doing. Like, I wouldn't be able to do it that way. So there's an art in that, even though it's not my art. I'm much more into lyrics, poetry, being able to be more literal, I guess. Um, but yeah, I've been I in an effort to be more open-minded, I push myself to just, even if it's not like initially, if I listen to something or see visual art or something, even if it's not initially like, oh, this is really cool, I'm into this kind of stuff, I still push myself to kind of like sit with it and be like, well, where's this going? How does this land for me? Give it a chance to breathe, so to speak. And I get something out of this, then I guess that could be art, but I don't know. It's super. I'm not a philosopher, It's like, it's a really, you could go in spirals of, you know, whatever with that question, but it's a good question. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I just love tossing these questions to artists and just seeing where they are and what they feel about
Yeah.
that. I like that example of like the craftsman making the thing, but that the audience, target demographic is
Sure.
the defining character thing of like, yeah, no, like that's not art. They weren't, because as far as I can tell, based on this endeavor in my life so far, because I'm only 27, so take it with a grain of salt. I haven't even made it
Sure.
three decades around the star, the sun, or whatever. But
Almost.
almost rounding up, that there's like visual art, like sculpture, painting, um, another one that I can't think of off the top of my head right here. And then there's performative art, just like singing, songwriting. I guess writing, when if it's not to be performed, like if you were writing a book, that would be a visual art. But as soon as you start to like read it, if author is doing a book reading, then that would be a performative piece that is also a visual piece. And then haven't really been able to figure out what teaching yoga is, or like if healing art is not its own separate thing, because it's not really performative, but it's not really visual art. It might be healing, might be its own special category, third category that exists. So like those would
Right.
be the
Yeah.
three.
Yeah.
So that being said, I guess I'm gonna take this. I listened to all the Paul Check 4D Living 4D with Paul Check is the podcast title, and he is someone who is also a fairly philosophical human being, and he likes, and I think it's a very good system or model for interviews or just in life of the hero's journey, which is the guy who wrote The Hero with a Thousand Faces, something Campbell, Stephen Campbell, maybe. I don't think it's Stephen Campbell.
Joseph Campbell, I think.
Joseph Campbell, yeah, that guy. Put the book in the podcast. Hopefully, they appeared on screen as I was saying them. But
Right.
that it's maybe the inciting incident if you're doing the curve for a story. But what was your reasoning, or how did you come to hip hop and rapping as a thing to do with your life?
Good question. Yeah. I kind of, so I have an older brother who's like 5.5 years older than me. And growing up, I always just wanted to do whatever my brother was doing. And, I've followed him around, like tried to hang out with his friends. And when I was like 10, 11, 12, he was really into like punk rock and ska you know, and I got really into to all that stuff. And I always loved music, like always loved music. And I always loved reading and writing. Like I can remember being like in preschool and kindergarten and being like, when are we going to learn to read? Because like I was just very fascinated by that. And as soon as I learned that, I really gravitated towards poetry and rhyme. And even before hip hop, it was like I really liked Edgar Allan Poe. He was like really interesting to me, and there was an art there. And so so then so punk rock, ska, all that stuff, Operation Ivy, Less Than Jake, Rancid, that whole genre. I got into really around the same time skateboarding, and it was and like I can remember being that age, watching MTV, and seeing like, I remember probably the earliest thing I can remember would be like Naughty by Nature. You down with OPP? Yeah, you
Mhm.
know me. Like I can remember hearing that. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but it didn't strike anything with me. It wasn't like my thing. Um, at the time. And then so whatever, I remember hearing like some Dr. Dre songs, seeing his videos, like yeah. And then there was this really striking moment. I think I was probably 12. There was a song, like um I was in one of my brother's friends' cars, and this woman was driving, and it was her car, and she put on this song by Too Short, which you live in the Bay, so you probably know of Too Short, I'm sure. But um, this song is called "Blowjob Betty," and no, like Too Short is really a genius in his own right, I do think. But this song is like, if you go and just actually like listen to or even just read the lyrics, it is really obscene. And I had never heard anything like this. And I'm 12 years old and I have some kind of a concept of what they're talking about for sure.
Mhm.
But I mean, uh, so I was like, wow, as a, 12-year-old, white-bodied man young man growing up in, far northern California. I grew up in Humboldt County. So
Okay.
it's very white, there's not a lot of people of color. There's a few, and just the whole everything Too Short and Dr. Dre in those other songs we're talking about. I was like, I don't really relate to this because I'm not from this culture. Um, it didn't really strike anything with me. And then so to answer your question, then I I was skateboarding, and then I got into high school. And I remember freshman year of high school, there was a big assembly in the gymnasium. All the, grades, freshmen through seniors were all there, and they were doing some different stuff. And this guy who was a senior, who I'd seen at the skate spots and I kind of knew him, he came out and he had turntables. And I think there was an MC like rapping too, but he had turntables and he was scratching.
Mhm.
And I just was like, what the heck? That is so cool. Um, and then at the same time, there was a skate video that came out. There was a skate company called Shorties. Shout out to Shorties if you know. They
Mhm.
had came out with a video. It was Chad Muska, Steve Olson, Sammy Batista, Brandon Turner, Tone Nguyen, all these skaters, and it was called Fulfill the Dream. The soundtrack was mixed by DJ A-Track. Do you know DJ A-Track? He's still around doing his thing. Okay, so he was at the time like probably 14 or 15 when he mixed that, and he had already like won a huge DJ battle. So anyways, long-winded answer, I saw that, and he mixed in all kinds of music, but there was some hip hop on there. And this was one of the first songs I really connected with. It's called Above the Clouds by Gangstar. And it has Inspected Deck from Wu-Tang. That song just has this kind of, as much of the Wu-Tang stuff does, this kind of oriental or whatever feel to the music. And it was kind of airy, like more space. And they weren't talking about all this super derogatory stuff. There was things I could relate to. So that song really interested me. And then the scratching really interested me. I went up to the dude at the skate spot, the DJ. His name's DJ Jedi. Shout out DJ Jedi.
Nice.
Like jet, like black, like jet eye.
Oh, nice.
Like, yeah. And at the time I was still like, I had bleach blonde spike tips. I had like a wallet chain and cargo pants, and I wore like polo shirts, and I was a skater punk kind of. And so I went up to him at the skate spot, and I was like, "Yo, Jedi, I got my turntables, dog." And he was like, "Oh, let me see your setup." So he came to my place, and I had the old turntable that like I got from my dad, and I bought a really cheesy like $100 mixer, and I had like old records from my dad's record collection, and he was like, "Oh, cool. Well, you should come over and practice on my Technics 1200s." And I was like, "Please." So he kind of took me under his wing, and I started learning how to scratch, and got really into DJing and mixing and scratching, and started working, like got a job so I could buy vinyl and buy equipment and get turntables. I still have the same turntables that I bought in high school, but yeah, that really started me on that path. And then at the same time, it was like I was interested in the scratching and the DJing, and because of that, I was listening to mixtapes by DJs that were exposing me to all this hip hop, underground hip hop. And I have to say, just shout out to the Beat Junkies, world famous Beat Junkies out of LA, because they had a mixtape called Sound Bombing Volume 2, which was on Raucous Records, which was like, I listened to that thing so much, and it had all these MCs. Eminem was on there before he was huge. This came out in 99. So it was like right before Eminem blew up. He probably had one Scribble Jam, but Eminem, it had R.A. the Rugged Man, had Mos Def, Talib Kweli, Bahamadia, if you don't know her, amazing female rapper. There's a bunch more on there that I think, yeah, there's a bunch more on there that I can't remember, but it was like a formulative album because all of the songs were about interesting concepts that I could relate to at the time in my life. And then DJ Babu and DJ J-Rock of the Beat Junkies mixed the whole thing together. And to this day, the mixing on that is incredible, like stands up to or beyond most of what you would be able to hear on a mixtape. And and they were doing it all with vinyl. There was no Serato or Tractor or any of that stuff. That they were getting the vinyl records of all the songs that were on there and manipulating them. So it's just really cool. So that album, and then the world famous Beat Junkies Volume 3 by DJ Melody. And that was all this mostly LA underground hip hop. He mixed in all these rappers. So that kind of really sparked my interest. And then I started, DJing and just in my bedroom, just DJing, getting beats, getting instrumentals on records and writing stuff. And, I went and like bought like a notebook, and I was like, this is my rhyme pad, started writing rhymes. And, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a lot of guidance other than Jedi, who kind of helped me with scratching, and DJing, but I didn't have like a lot of MCs around me. And some of my friends would come and like we'd freestyle and we'd mess around, but I never really had anybody that was like serious the way I was, But that's how I got started, and I just kept with it. And eventually I went, after high school, I went to college and studied music, studied recording, and just always wanted to pursue that. Always was just fascinated by that. And so that's kind of, that's how it started. I think I've recorded, like I messed around with some stuff in high school and then kind of on and off through the years, but always stuck with it. And
So
yeah,
it's a very big piece of your life then.
absolutely. It's always been a motivating factor, and like I've always held the space for it, and most of my life I felt very isolated in music, like
Mm.
not could never really find people to work with or that would stick with it or whatever. And I've always lived in kind of small communities too, so that could be part of it. But recently though, the last 5 years, there's been a lot more going on that front. So,
Mhm.
and also, like I said, I was jaded. So if you weren't really dope, I wasn't gonna mess with you. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I think I shut myself off to a lot of opportunities, to be honest, to call myself out. I probably could have worked with some people that maybe I didn't think were amazing at the time, but I wasn't anything amazing at the time either. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a quote that comes to mind on that topic, and then maybe hopefully I'll be able to remember some of the things that came up as you were saying your piece. That if you're the most interesting or the most intelligent person in the room, it's time to find a bigger, like a different room or different crowd
You're in the wrong room.
yeah,
If you're
yeah,
the
something like
smartest in
that.
the room,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's a comfort level there, but yeah, get out of your comfort zone. If you're the smartest, most knowledgeable, best person in the room, get into a room where you're not, because you're going to
Mhm.
learn way more there, right? I love
Yeah,
that quote. Good
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. So I'm actually, and then one of the things that is still sticking in my head, like I'm not actually from the Bay Area. I live in the North Bay right now. I've been here, oh shit, what is it? At least maybe around 2 years. But I'm originally from upstate New York, so I'm from the whole other side of the country, and I don't know, just growing up there was, I like alternative might not be the right way to say this, but there's definitely like a like, it's, I want to say like mainstream punk, I guess. Like I'm thinking of like the All American Rejects or like Blink 182 was things, or like Bowling for Soup, and then a bunch of weird other eclectic things like Weird Al Yankovic or fucking what was like in country music. Country music was a huge influence for me personally of just shit that like my mom would listen to, or because when you're a little kid you don't have any control over what's going on at the radio or not. So you're just kind of forced to listen to what your parents put you on to, or your friends. Like the Lonely Island, that was like a whole thing that like kids that were older than me were like listening to that, and I was like, I guess this is what's cool. Like I don't know, like just going along for the ride. Um, yeah, just those are some thoughts that I had in my brain. But the question that I want to put out there to you now was there's a this is more philosophy,
Sure.
shocker.
Yeah.
It's technically it's probably pronounced telos, but it's like Aristotelian. If I could sound intelligent, I like to say telos, of just with your music, with your art, and I guess maybe even just if you want to take it even broader with your life. Do you feel like there's a clear end goal or like prime directive or like function of like what you're doing or why you're making what you create?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if there's an end goal. I think the goal is, for me, is to continue to make music and to continue to perform. Whether or not that goes into larger and higher spheres or whatever
Mm.
is cool or not, but like let me just put it this way. If you Anybody that's listening, if you have put out a piece of music, it's a freaking miracle. It, so congratulations. That is the success. If you have put it out, that's the success. And it's great if people listen to it and get something out of it. But if you're able to, because I know what it takes to do it, it
Mm.
takes a lot for some people. Some people, it's really easy, just they just do it really quick and get it out. Not me. I'm trying to get better at that. But yeah,
Mm.
I think that's the goal, is to continue to create um, to as soon as you make a piece of music and finish it and release it, then you're like, oh, I could have done this better. I could have done that. I could have changed this. So there is inherently like a progression. Like I want to keep getting better at what I'm doing and enjoy it, like if I'm not having fun with it, it's like I mean, sure there's work and it's work to do music, and playing gigs is, nobody's making anything really, and it's a lot of work. But if you yeah, so I want to have fun. I want to keep making music. I think my goal really in my end game is like I live in a community in Southern Oregon. I'm near Ashland and Medford, where there's a lot of people here. Like it's not that super small, and we're right on the Interstate 5. So what I typically see, especially with hip hop, is you'll have an artist that does like the Bay Area, like they're on their Pacific Northwest tour, Bay Area, maybe SoCal, Bay Area, and then they go to Portland, maybe Eugene, Oregon, but Portland. They just skip us and we're right on the way. And we're actually like a nice 5 hours from the Bay Area. And then, it's 3 to Eugene and a little less than 3, and then 5 to Portland. So we're right on the way. And I feel like people skip us all the time. And it's for good reason. If it's there isn't like this strong community around hip hop here. There's a lot of like ecstatic dance here, and that does well,
Yeah.
and then other stuff. If we get a larger artist, like shout out Chris Webby, because he plays here and he does his
Mhm.
thing, and he has enough draw in this area for his style that it works for him. I think he might say something different, but I think he came here last year. And yeah, I just so what I'm getting to is my goal is to keep building the events that I'm doing here and building the community here, to be able to have enough of a community to capture those mid-level artists.
Mhm.
Like like if we have someone that just inherently has a draw, like the Living Legends. If the Living Legends came here, they would probably sell out with enough promo, and there's a venue that would support them. But it's like those artists that maybe don't have that huge of a draw, but they're kind of like mid-range. If we build the community here in Southern Oregon, we'll have the money to be like, look, like these shows sell out, like our local shows sell out,
Mhm.
like we can, yeah, like I have so I'm going to do a shameless plug real quick. I do a
No, please.
monthly I do a monthly event um every third Saturday of the month called Conscious Hip Hop Night. It's in Ashland at a really cool venue called the Beat Farm Co-op. And it's like a speakeasy, like basement downstairs. And we usually have like smoked brisket tacos, and like vendors come and have their merch, and we have like the last one we had live painting and like sound healing and stuff, and it's a really cool community event. It's all ages. There is some beer and wine, but it's all ages. And it's a lot of fun. So that event every month, I'm trying to bring in artists that I can actually pay them some, because we have a community that comes to these events. And I want to build that so that it sells out every month, which isn't hard. It's probably 85 tickets max in that venue. It's not huge.
Mhm.
So selling that out, there would be enough money to be like, hey, whoever it is, I'm like, I've got $500 guarantee for you. Like I could do that. You know, come here, and I'll book you in Grants Pass and maybe Talent, which is right next to Ashland,
Mhm.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or something. Like you won't make as much on those, but you'll make a little bit and have a little, Southern Oregon tour. So I'm working on doing that. I'm bringing from, I think she's in Fresno area, or Sacramento, Moon Magic. She's the hip hop witch. Moon Magic Flows is her Instagram. So, and then her friend Spacewalker. She's in California as well. They're
Mhm.
both female rappers. They're both really dope. Um, Moon Magic. is like she does tarot readings. Like her merch booth has tarot, and
Mm.
she's just really cool. And so is Spacewalker. And then Spacewalker does like she raps, she sings, she does live looping. She's super funky. They're both awesome. I've performed with them before, so they're coming up and doing the July 20th Conscious Hip Hop Night, along with the local support from me and Namid Wolf, who's another female rapper here. So anyways, yeah. So I'm like going off on a tangent, but yeah, that I think that's the goal, is to continue to produce music and to continue doing it. And there's all those reasons that I said, but the bottom line is like I'm old enough and I've had enough life experience to know that I've had periods in my life where I haven't done music and it doesn't work. Anyways, yeah, so the end game, the goal is to continue to do it.
That was
So
phenomenal, dude. I'm so glad that you just could fucking go
sure.
on that path, on that course. That there's a whatever. How I said what I said. There was a lot. There's a lot in there. There's like questions I want to like ask, but I also just want to like sit in that like
Hmm.
inspiration or that like energy that you put forth to like calling out or calling upon other creative souls to like make the thing that the God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, as like a channel for that divinity or the energy of creativity. It just, if it's moving through you, like do it, put it out. Like
Right.
even if you're not gonna get the validation from or the money of like making it as a commercial success. Like
The validation is doing it, is
yeah,
completing it. You're the
the
only one that can validate it. It doesn't matter what anybody says. You're the only one. If you and you won't get anything if you don't do it. But if you do it, that's the validation. Like you gave it enough love and attention to like finish it and put it out, you know? And if anybody listening struggles with this subject, I highly recommend you may have heard of this book, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Not The
mhm.
Art of War, The War of Art. I think it's Stephen Pressfield. It's a little small book, and it's the kind of book where you can just flip to somewhere and read that page and be like, okay, cool. But it's phenomenal. He's a I think like a screenwriter, and he's
Mhm.
just struggled with this, like what we're talking about, you know. And
Mhm.
it's so he wrote this little book called The War of Art, and it's all about how we kind of justify our way out of doing our art.
Mhm.
And it's just like a slap in the face reminder of like you got to do it. If you're called to it, you have to do it. Like find a way. It's not going to be easy, or it may be for some people. I don't want to like say it's not going to be easy, but it's work. And yeah, so that's a great resource if you struggle with this and you need some motivation. Yeah, check out The War of Art.
If it's the
Great.
book that I'm thinking it is, that guy, he like, I think he wrote it several times, and then like he would get to the
Probably.
end every time, and then just like destroy the whole thing and do it again because he just like didn't feel like it
Yeah,
was good enough or whatever his
that sounds
logic
right.
or
Yeah.
reasoning for like not. But as a writer, I kind of get that where if you just get in these like things of like, oh, is this ever gonna actually be done in a way that's like digestible for other people to like get what I'm trying to in my own head out into the rest of the other brains. But on the same token of like nothing, like perfection is the enemy of like good, or like it's just if you can't, you have to be accept where you are to be able to continue to grow into what you could become. Because if you just keep on that like track. Like if you're a hamster spinning your wheel, you're never going to get anywhere. So you have to like get off of the thing and be like, all right, this is done for where I'm at now, and I know that in a decade or 2 decades that I could come back to it after I've improved 2 decades worth of time and be like, all right, now let's redo it, or like make the changes that I wish I could have done then but wasn't capable of doing and now can do. And the 2.0, here we go. Like this is where we're at now, and it sounds way better.
Right.
Whew.
Absolutely.
And then
Yeah.
being process driven over product driven is incredibly important. Of just in
Mm.
that to evolve, you have to just be stuck in not stuck, but like to be keep your head down, do a process of like evolving or training or practicing, and then look up and like take measurements every so often and be like, oh yeah, I couldn't do this, and then time passes, oh like now I can do this, or like specifically with music, I'm imagining, which is like if you don't practice the guitar, you will never improve at playing or playing the guitar. You just won't.
Right.
It's how you just have to be able to sit down and do the thing if you want to be better at doing the thing or make money at it or whatever it is.
Right.
Whew. So yeah, having goals, striving, and being consistent, self-discipline. I was reading a book earlier today. I'm gonna have to look at where it was real quick. I can't remember what the title of it was, but it was No Excuses by Brian Tracy.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, the whole thing of just having self-discipline is single-handedly the most crucial idea, practice that you can develop as a human being if you're looking to have success in any way, shape, or form, which
Totally.
this isn't on my list of questions, which I'm going to write down once I ask it to you, but how do you define success?
It's kind of similar to what I've already said, I guess. I mean, if you're a musician, like, or a rapper or whatever, getting a piece of art, like getting an album out, that's success. Whether it's making money or selling or people are listening to it, that's great. But getting it out and doing, and like I said, that's a miracle. Like if you can like think of something in your head and then work on it long enough that you have a full-length album, like you created that. Even if you're just buying and leasing beats from somebody and writing to them, no shame in that. Like it's a miracle to go through and have the determination to finish that. So I think that's a success. I think releasing your art out into the world is the success.
Giving birth to a creation that wasn't there before.
And I'm less and less interested nowadays, and as I get older, in like any kind of commercial whatever. I mean, you know, to like kind of throw back to our earlier conversation of like art is partially like when someone receives it. Mm-hmm. So whether it's performance art or not, so that is a component of it. Like I don't want to just make an album that nobody hears. I've done that. But I want, I want people to hear it. It's mostly, my music mostly gets heard when I perform. I don't have a ton of streams or anything like that, but people are listening. I sell CDs still. Sometimes I have them. I print them. So, having that ability to get it done and out, that's a success for me. Other people might say things differently. Like you can look at metrics of, how many streams or how many plays or how many comments or likes, and that stuff's all fine. But I think the success really is, like I said, the validation, you're the only one that can validate it. Like, because art is personal and music's personal. And, if you feel like you did a good job and you feel like the thing you were trying to express got expressed the way you wanted it to, like, as an artist, like you might write 20 songs and one or two of them, you're like, I really hit it. Like what I was trying to do on that song, man, that one, it came out exactly the way it should. It's so cool. Like, I'm so stoked. And it's not that the other ones aren't good. It's just like, as an artist when you did it. And that's the success. That's the validation. Because the more you do it, the more you'll have those moments where those songs where you're like, something happened there. Like there's a song that I don't have recorded yet. Actually, I was working on it today, but I performed it a few times. And I asked myself this question, like, I was like, what if I wrote a song about picking blackberries? Which is like, a lot of people have picked blackberries. It's a thing. It's a childhood memory for many people. I was like, what if I wrote a song about that? That'd be fun. And so I did, and what the song turned out to become is beyond any expectation I had. It's like, because I just stuck with it and I was like, well, what does that mean to me? And writing, it's got 3 verses and a chorus, and it's like writing all these verses, like it pulled these things out of me. It's like
Mhm.
there's a little bit of like talking about stolen land. There's a little bit of like indigenous stuff in it. There's a little bit of like just pure joyous childhood nostalgia. There's a little bit of like, and this is just the stuff I see. When someone listens to it, and I performed it, and people respond to this song. Like
Mhm.
I can get people to sing the chorus. They've never heard the song before on
Mhm.
the first chorus, not even the repeat, because it's easy. There's nothing to it. But
Mhm.
it's like, there's something that happened when I just asked that question and I stuck with it and I kept writing and kept like, what is this? What would a song about blackberries be like? And what does it mean to me? There's so many things. Like where I live here in Southern Oregon, it's really hot in the summers. We get 90, over 90 and 100-degree days a lot. And there's a lot of fires. Like in the Pacific Northwest, there's fires, And so, I talk about like picking blackberries and it's like sweltering heat and there's smoke coming through and your arms are getting torn up from the vines and like, why the heck are you doing this? It's like there's so many little things sprinkled in this and someone else is going to hear it. And they're going to get whatever they're going to get out of it. And so yeah, so it's like that's the success. That song is one of those ones. It's called Blackberry Jam. It's coming out on my next album, and
Nice.
that song is one of those ones where I was like, wow, I really, I'm not going like, yeah, I'm a success, but it's like I was able to tap into something far beyond myself with that
Mhm.
song, and people respond to it, and to me that's a success. And um there's another song called Expand Your Soul from my first full-length album, Expand Your Soul. That song, I had a really specific, it wasn't like I asked a question, I just had a really specific thing I wanted to write about.
Mhm.
And I just, when I wrote those lyrics, I immediately was like, oh, like I hit it for me. I don't even think everybody that hears that song has any idea. Like they get some inkling of what it is, but for me, just personally, I was like, wow, this really came out exactly how I wanted it to. I'm so happy that this worked out, which is a very different success than the Blackberry Jam, where I was just like, what if I wrote a song about blackberries?
Mhm.
And I kept with it, and then it turned into something that I really am proud of, that's really cool. So
You
yeah.
do. You gotta be able to make good music. That's what we want. Everybody wants more good music. No one's gonna be like, I want less good music, please. I felt like when you were saying that piece about your first album, that your soul like literally expanded. It just felt very much like that to me when you were saying that. And I think striking a chord with people that have similarities to you is like why that song resonates so much with so many different people. And I think as artists, that's sort of our quote unquote job, or the reason art exists is to like express collective notions or archetypal ideas that people who aren't as artsy or don't have that ability to like look at something, see a meaning that may or may not be there, and then take that meaning with them into their process, and then like do the whole thing that artists do of rehashing the same ideas in the way that create is where individuality or originality sort of comes into being, from which you like take the thing into yourself, take rehash it. I just don't like to say the same words over and over again. But you do that thing where you put your spin on the thing that inspired you to whatever you're doing, and then giving it out back out into the world and being like, hey, like this is how I took this, or like this is the thing that is sitting in me that I feel like other people need to think about or look at or do something with, or like see like this problem in the world, like hey, like this is a thing we should be paying attention to, and like this is how it makes me feel, how does it make you feel, and that translating ideas between people is like what artists do, is like you just express ourselves. And there's a reason that authoritarians and people in power go for the artists first, is because we have the ability to look at what they're doing and be like, hey, like this isn't a good idea. And historically, if you like have any notion of being a well-studied human being, you know that like they come for freedoms. And then once they start getting other people that you're like, hey, like this isn't good, because eventually there's going to be no one left to like, you're gonna be looking behind you, there's nobody behind you anymore to like be like, hey, like why didn't anyone stop them? Like we tried, but you were just going with the crowd. And as an artist, I think individuality and like being able to separate yourself from your audience is important. But then like being in an audience is also like, because everybody as a human being needs to be part of a community, and like this sense of belonging is very like deeply rooted in our psyche. We're social creatures. We need our people, but also being able to like separate and like look at culture and be like, hey, like maybe we could do this better or do that better. I don't know. This, that, the third is true. So they say, they who, to quote my own song. I just wanted to ramble a little bit. But you had said earlier, or alluded to, especially as being in the conscious hip hop scene, to a source of all information, all knowledge, all knowing, the almighty, if you will. So does religion, spirituality play a role in your creative endeavor? And if so, do you have a muse, meaning a connection to that source that comes to you? It doesn't have to be the stereotypical like divine goddess, sexual, beautiful woman kind of like thing I'm creating to be seduced by or seduced. But like this one artist, this one time, he had said it this way, that it was Stephen King's muse is like some alcoholic cigar smoking dude that he just creates these ridiculous ass stories to like, yeah, okay, so you know. And then, or if you just have like,
I didn't know that, but it makes perfect sense about
right, Stephen King's crazy, bro.
Yeah, and
just, yeah,
very talented. And he Stephen King just, yeah, I mean, he just writes. That's just like he just has written so much. It's not like he was innately super good when he started.
6 pages a day.
Is that it? Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a ridiculous amount.
That's a lot. Yeah. So if you're doing that, you know, if you wrote 6 verses a day, if you're a rapper or a singer or something, I mean, yeah. But to answer your question, great question, by the way. You know, I wasn't raised in any kind of formal organized religion or anything like that. I actually have Jewish ancestors, but a whole section of my family tree is just gone because they were murdered in the streets during World War I. So my grandmother, my great grandmother and great grandfather on my mom's side fled to the States, and so they survived. And I think religion and God died for them. You know, it's like there's no. It's like, how do you, going through the atrocities of Nazi occupation and being slaughtered, and getting out and surviving and having, you know, your whole family, most of them was murdered for no reason. How, you know, I think it just kind of made them be like, well, if this is going on, how is there a God? You know, like I don't know. I haven't like interviewed them on it. My grandma's 91, and but it's like, so there's that. I bring that up because it's part of my history, and there's a generational trauma there for sure. And my upbringing was more like, you know, I grew up in Arcata, California, which is like in Humboldt, which is like kind of a hippie town. And you know, Humboldt County is synonymous with marijuana, cannabis, and so there was just like a more open-minded idea of spirituality, and my mother was always very like, you know, just kind of exposed me to a lot of different ideas at a very young age around spirituality. She had studied in some Buddhist traditions a little bit, not a ton, and so I kind of picked up some stuff from there. But I personally believe, like, I take things from all over, from all different religions. Like, probably my one of my biggest musical influence has got to be Brother Ali. And Brother Ali is a pretty strong Muslim, and he talks about it. He's got a great podcast, and he, I've been listening to his podcast and learning more and more about Islam. And there's things from that I like, and things from it that I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to like sit and ramble off my like personal beliefs because I just don't think it would be that interesting. But I can tell you that my like I definitely think that we're all connected on this planet, and I think that um, there is unexplainable things that are important to pay attention to. Um, and it's and I lived in India for a little over a year when I was in college, and I studied yoga when I was there. And so I have a lot of, and if you really listen to my music, there is a lot of like kind of like nature worship in a
Mm.
way. Like it's subtle, but it's there. And so yeah, like so you know, I definitely I definitely think like there's some higher guidance. Like I've just seen too many things in my life to just be like, no, it's all, there's no point in any of it. It's
Mm.
all whatever. Sometimes I feel that way, like life, happens, and sometimes I feel that way, but I know there's a higher guidance on some things, and I can tap into that. Um and it's kind of like when you like kind of how I explained about writing Blackberry Jam, I would just showed up and asked that question, and that question, like, what if I wrote a song about picking blackberries, created this connection to something outside of me.
Mm.
Because that's how some songs are. It's like you might start with something like an idea or a question, but then pretty soon this idea, this art is trying to come to life, and you're the only one that can do it. And if you have a great idea like that, and you're just like, I'm not gonna, um, then it dies. It just
Mm.
melts, away. But if you capture it, if you hold on to it and give it some focus and some effort on a regular basis, or just in that one moment, and see it through, then you're like bringing something into life, you're birthing something into the world. And that is spiritual. I think
It's
like that
beautiful.
is very, because it's spiritual in the sense that it's bigger than you.
Mm.
You're in participating in creating something, and participating in something that's larger than yourself or your life. And that's what's so cool about art and music. It's like you get to, um the songs you make, the art you make lives on way beyond your life. And I don't think there's really any artists that I know that don't at least think of that. Like, not in like a fame sense
Mm.
of it, although some people for sure, but more just like, this is a legacy that I can leave behind. And now that I have kids, it's like you know, I can often be like, well, I don't have time, and life is so busy, and I'm a father now. But more often than not, I'm like, well, I want to show them that they can do this. Like if they wanted to, like, I don't want them to see their dad as like someone who just like gave up on his music,
Right.
and so it's like it becomes like a why for me is like, and that's why I do like the conscious hip hop night. That's why I try to do all ages shows. I don't drink. I don't even like bars that
Mhm.
much. And so I'm trying to do these more family orientated things where it's like we can have the community come together, kids can come, and yeah, I mean I have a song called Girl Dad. And it's a part of my kid's childhood because I've been working on the song for on and off for probably 2 years now. And
Mhm.
they're in it, like their voices are in it from like 2 years ago. and they hear the song. It's not out yet. It's coming out this summer, I promise. But they are. It's a part of their life. They know the lyrics. When they're at my shows, they come and sing. Like they get up there. I don't ask them to. They just get up there and take the mic from me and start singing it. So yeah, it's there's yes. I think I answered the question about the spiritual side of it. I mean, it's incredible, and that's why I say like it's a miracle for you to put out music and put out an album. Not just from the sense of like it's a miracle because it's can be so difficult to continue to do it, but it's also a miracle from the sense of you're thinking of something that you're then bringing into the world, and it's like, yeah, that's powerful. So
That's it, man. All right, Gabe. We're over.
that's okay.
We're right where we need to be in
Right.
time and space. So
Yeah.
please lay it out for the people. Plug yourself. Where can they find you? What are they gonna find when they get there? And then we'll end on that, and I'll do my little outro, and we'll be good to go.
Awesome. Thanks, Saikon. Yeah, I think I'm the inspirational rapper, most active on my Instagram, but anywhere, everywhere, the inspirational rapper, Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere, the inspirational rapper. There's only one. And if you go and listen to my music, hopefully I will live up to my namesake and you'll be inspired in some way. And yeah, I mean, I've been a student and fan and practicing rapper and hip hop artist for many years. So I put a lot of love and intention and a lot of my life into my music. And I just hope people get a chance to hear it and get something from it. And so yeah, go stream it on Spotify, whatever you want to do. And DM me and let me know what you think. I would love to hear your feedback. So, and new music coming this summer. I'll be dropping, some release dates soon, but at probably mid-August, I got an album coming out called Home. And I have a song called Home, and it's about just the idea of home, and it's all good, super good vibes, like summer good vibes, and the Blackberries song's gonna be on there, and the Girl Dad song, and there's some really cool special features from some amazing artists that are much larger than me, and it's still formulating. Yeah, it's cool. So yeah, watch out for Home, and I'm launching a barbecue sauce called Home Sauce. So watch out for Home Sauce. I did a short like run, just like friends and family without official labeling, and because there's a lot of legal stuff around that, but I'm gonna work through that, and it's gonna be a merch item that I'm gonna take on tours, like barbecue sauce and CDs and T-shirts, and so yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah.
Merch is the way. Merch is the way.
Right.
All right, people. Smile more, complain less, never, ever, ever give up until you discern it's for your absolute best to move on. Namaste, have a great day. Slop shoot if it's nighttime soon, and I appreciate you so much. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Listen to Gabe's stuff, listen to my stuff, whatever you feel called to do. We appreciate your time and attention. Much love. Mahalo. Until next time. Goodbye.
Peace.